Hey friends, welcome to Lightning Leader. I'm John Register. Now, are you a leader responsible for moving people, organizations, and missions forward? So if so, this podcast is for you. Each and every episode explores the moments that shape leadership, the decisions that change direction, the commitments that create momentum, the actions that transform possibility into progress. Again, I'm John Register, Paralympic silver medalist, Army combat veteran, decision commander, keynote speaker, and the creator of the StrikePoint decision path. Throughout my life, I've learned that growth requires release, strategic subtraction. Sometimes the next level of impact requires letting go of an old assumption, an old identity, an old way of operating, or an old definition of success. That's what StrikePoint is all about. Finding the moment where decision becomes action and action becomes transformation. So if you're enjoying these conversations, follow the show, subscribe, and share it with someone who is leading others through growth and change. And now let's get ready to meet our guest for today. My guest today is Patricia Montague, CEO of the School Nutrition Association and the School Nutrition Foundation. Patti leads an organization representing more than 50,000 school nutrition professionals across the country. These leaders serve millions of students every day and play a critical role in student health, learning, and success. For more than 3 decades, she has served the association community in executive leadership, strategic planning, advocacy, personal development, and organizational growth. She is a certified association executive, ASAE fellow, and one of the most respected leaders in the association profession. Today, we're talking about leadership, mission, service, and what it takes to help an 80-year-old organization continue to grow, evolve, and elevate its impact. We will have a chance to meet Patti right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, Patti Montague is in the building. I can't believe it. We have her here. Thank you so much for being on today.
Well, thank you, John, for inviting me to come speak. And I'm so excited that you're going to be joining in less than a month, coming to our annual conference and speaking to my members. So
I'm really excited about that. I am. So I know that back in Oak Park, Illinois, I had my my school lunch that was going on there. So I'm very excited to come and just kind of give back and just say thank you for all the work that you all do. I asked, the question, what is it that you had to amputate in order to elevate to your success?
Getting out of the weeds. When you've been in some place for 3 decades plus, and you started out doing all sorts of things and growing, when you get to this level, you don't have the time. But, things happen. And sometimes, COVID's a perfect example. When it hit, we actually had to lay off some staff, just like many organizations. And so you ended up getting back in the weeds a little bit because you had to help out your team. We were all working very long hours, but really focusing on the strategic work that a CEO has to need, having the space to do that, as well as spending more time with all the different stakeholders. And we have a lot of stakeholders. We have obviously our members, but I have industry partners. We have allied partners, hundreds of allied partners, even to connect with the members. And it takes a lot to do that, but it helps me in the strategic work of the organization. And it really, especially connected with the members in industry, thanking them and showing that appreciation, but learning from them, which enables me to then lead the organization, know what the challenges that are happening and what we need to do to continue to move forward to support them.
Getting out of the weeds, that is something I think a lot of executives struggle with, even right now, because as we're moving so quickly in our nation, in our country, in the world, and everything's going so fast, we can talk about Gen AI, we can talk about just the decision-making process. A lot of board of directors are kind of coming alongside of CEOs now and executives and having faster commitments and offering their expertise in a kind of more of a hybrid model. What do you think right now? You mentioned, COVID and how you had to shift and pivot that in that area. What do you think that the organization, the association needs now from its CEO, from you in this moment?
Obviously, there's a lot of challenges happening in schools. Many people may not realize, but school meal programs are entitlement programs. And right now, unfortunately, the cost of food and staffing, benefits, everything has skyrocketed, right? If you look at some studies show all costs are up like 25%. Right now, focusing on the financial sustainability of these programs. These programs, in fact, last week we celebrated the 80th anniversary of the signing of the National School Lunch Act that President Truman signed. And the program started after World War II. They realized the troops were malnourished. So that's how the program started. It wasn't until the 60s, the Johnson administration, that the free meal came. But unfortunately, federal funding has not kept pace. And a free meal in this country is $4.70 is what they get in a school district for a free meal. They have less than $1.25, $1.30 in the food. It's all salary and the benefits and everything, equipment it takes to run the program. So I'm finding having to go to the Hill more, working with USDA, talking to our industry people and our members and learning about it and really focusing on what it means and seeking to get that funding and getting the message out and really educating people what it takes to run these programs, because they are critical safety nets in all communities across the country.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I learned that in doing some research and studying and speaking with your team, that $4.70 is what is allocated for that, and all the overhead that goes with it, and the supply chain, and all the transportation that needs to get those things together, and your allied partners, and making that happen. And when I think about that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I start crushing down because of the weight of it. And every leader, every executive right now, I think is feeling that pressure, where they realize the future does not look like the past. And that's what I call a reckoning. It's a reckoning moment that we have. I borrowed that from Tombstone. It's a reckoning that he's after.
It is a reckoning.
It's a reckoning.
It really is.
And in that, we have to, I believe, grieve the loss before we can move forward. So we say, okay, we're not there any longer. We can't go backwards. What have you accepted about school nutrition that others still might be resisting?
That maybe they've expanded so many programs. There's so many programs out there that at some point somebody's going to have to look at the programs, and they're critical. I think there's over 13 child nutrition programs, and somebody's going to have to take a look at it like a business, because the most kids eat is breakfast and lunch is the greatest participation. 30 million kids eat a school lunch every day, and about almost 14.5 million eat a school breakfast. So we keep hearing we don't have the money because the federal budget, the debt. What is it going to take then? Do we have to take the programs and look at them over 80 years? All these, they kept adding on programs. But if you're feeding the most, have the biggest impact, what do you need to do? What changes need to be made? And we do this in businesses all the time because you got to make room for innovation and new things happening. At this point, we're looking at being able to continue to feed these kids so they can be successful in the future. And let's face it, the challenges our country faces with AI coming, I think we're at a pivotal time in our country, and especially with the youth in this country, to help them be successful for the future, to ensure we know kids, the healthiest meal kids get is at schools. Tufts University has studies, other studies have shown that, and whatever we need to do to ensure that we can continue to provide healthy and nutritious meals at schools, I think we need to do that.
Yeah. I was just listening to an NPR show earlier today, and one of the people running for our in the gubernatorial race here in the state of Colorado, they were talking about they had to stop creating the last cuts in budget off of the backs of kids. And so when we think about, you have a very sharp strategic facing team. And one thing that I listened to that kind of shocked me was that members feel defensive when people ask what they do. How do you help professional members continue to value the work so that they can in turn be advocates with you on the Hill or in their local communities to say that this is important? We have a lot of kids. We can't have kids coming to school hungry, and because they're not going to learn. So it's all at this domino effect that happens. And with that, the secondary question to that is, have you learned from other countries about what they're doing to keep their kids fed during the year?
Sure. Well, one is appreciation. One of the things I say are members of the salt of the earth, what they're doing, coming in early in the hours during the pandemic. Everything shut down on a Friday. Those people were out there feeding kids on a Monday, did not have gloves, did have masks, all those protective things that we knew were so important. They're so dedicated to what they do and building on that and continuing to show the appreciation, helping them. Sometimes it's going to be scary for someone who's never come to Washington, right? It's a big deal. You go to the Hill, helping them realize they're just people just like you, and we need them, and they have a right, and getting them feeling good about the work they do, because sometimes, especially in a school district, they don't feel like the most important people in a school district. So having them realize that, and we've actually just launched a campaign to celebrate our 80th anniversary with Why I Show Up. And we just released a video with a lot of social media. And we're going to be doing a lot of this also at our conference, why they show up every day, that they can share their story. And their stories are very powerful. When I hear mothers who bring their kids in for school breakfast, but yet they have younger kids who they can't afford to feed. And, they're not supposed to be giving the kids food to feed the younger siblings, but they do, because they feel for them. Or the stories of a kid who comes to school on a Monday morning and they're so hungry because there's not enough money or food in the household to feed them. Those are the things that drive me to continue to work hard. And then using those things to help our members feel what they're doing, it really matters. And I think that's what's important to get that message. What you do, it matters, and to teach them how to tell their stories. I will say, we do look and see what other countries are doing, but other countries' programs they're not feeding 30 million school lunches a day, or the capacity. But seeing the types of food, many of them do more scratch cooking, fresh fruits and vegetables, and we're moving to that. We started when the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act was introduced under the Obama administration, and making strides over the 13 years to make the school meals much more healthier and nutritious for kids.
Yeah, I've been up there around Rayburn Building and some of the other ones, walking the halls in our nation's capital, and it can be intimidating, and the tunnels and going from building to building. But yeah, there are people. What I'm thinking about right now is, in this current time, what we're talking about right now is we have a supply chain that is elevated in its the cost of delivering something right now, right? Fuel prices have gone up. My wife and I just bought tickets for a vacation we want to go on. We're like, oh my gosh, what just happened to the ticket price? And we're in stop. What? Sure. And at the pump, I just pumped gas in my car today, and so I know that's impacting how your allies are helping and getting food services to, tire costs are up and the gas costs are up and all those things. When you look at that coming down the road, what are the conversations in school nutrition that you're having as leaders and looking at those headwinds that are there that the private sector really doesn't understand or know about? I mentioned just one, and I want to hear your answer right after we come back and pay some bills right after this. Are you ready to help your team amputate what limits and elevate what leads? I'm John Register, Paralympic silver medalist and transformational leadership expert. Through my Amputate to Elevate and Champions Mindset keynotes, I help organizations turn adversity into advantage and build leaders who thrive under pressure. From the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee to Fortune 500 boardrooms, audiences describe these sessions as transformational, actionable, and unforgettable. So if you're looking to inspire your team to commit to courageous leadership, visit johnregister.com and let's elevate your next event together. We're back with Patti Montague. Thank you so much for being on with us. Asked the question just before the break about the difference between what you're seeing right now as nutritional leaders and the private sector, what the public never hears about.
Yes, costs continue to rise. And of course, we all saw yesterday in the news, it said last month, inflation went up 4%. They're seeing, they're starting especially because they put in their bids and orders for the food for next school year. And, schools start opening in July. A lot of people don't realize that. They're still in the old mode with thinking everything, opens after Labor Day, and they don't. So they're seeing those rising costs. And we encourage them. We're giving them talking points. We're encouraging to reach out to their senators, to their congressmen, to get them to understand how really this is a critical challenge for schools. And getting superintendents, we're working with the superintendents, we're working with the business officials, even talking to our partners at PTA and all the different groups to come together. We desperately need money, because I don't know, and people don't realize this, when these programs are supposed to be self-sustaining. That means that when your property taxes that pays for basically pays the bulk of the cost of educating kids in K-12 schools, that money, they have to go, and when the school meal programs goes in debt, they cannot carry that debt over school year to school year. There's a federal law. So what has to happen? They have to take it out of the general funds of school district budgets. That means teachers' jobs. That means computers, all the things it takes to educate kids today. And unfortunately, a lot of money came from the government after the pandemic. That money is gone. And you're probably hearing about it in California. I'm hearing it in Virginia, where I live, where the two largest school districts in this area, Fairfax County, which I live in, and Montgomery County, they're cutting $40 to $50 million from their school budgets next year. So the money is, you can't keep falling back on the school districts. So it's sort of like this tipping point is here. And so we're trying to get our members engaged, and they are, and sharing their stories. And, one of the things we're encouraging more to do is bring the senator and congressman into your schools. Let them see what you are doing every single day and what it takes to serve these kids. And that's, I think, what they really need to see and understand, the financial workings of a school, and what the important decisions they're going to have to make.
That kind of gets to my next question, but I think you've already answered it. But I'll just double check, because your world better than I know your world. And it's what I'm seeing and hearing from a lot of executives globally that are, I think I read a report, 65% of CEOs in the global private sector and public sector see disruption, which we're talking about, as the opportunity to play offense, right? So, and I love how you're saying, let's play the offensive game here. Where is SNA being disrupted, and how are you playing offense because of disruption? I think you already answered that question, but is there something else? Is that, as I state that, is something else coming up for you in your mind of what members can do to help us play offense better, to make sure that we're making sure that we are feeding our kids?
Again, sharing with their family members and educating one. That's what's critical. Again, I don't think a lot of people realize, because it's always been there, right? You go to school, get a meal. This has always been part of our, the way we operate in our lives, and it's always been there. But we're at risk where that may go away. And you think about, if the money is not there to feed these kids, you could have school districts that say, you know what, we're not going to operate the National School Lunch Program, and they may look at doing other things. And you think about the impact that would have on a community, especially those communities that depend on it, that don't have the funding, and that so many families don't have the money, especially with these rising costs, as we talk, to feed these kids. So I do think we're at this tipping point in our country. And again, members just going out there, sharing their story, and getting their elected officials. And I don't think it's just the members of Congress. I think to get those state officials, their mayors, and everyone to know, because really people, again, I think take for granted what happens. It may look like it's not a big deal. They're just feeding kids. Well, it is a big deal. When you look at, again, we've seen such an uptick in the number of families that can't afford. And to me, it's an affordability issue. The government really can't control food prices like in a retail grocery store, but they could afford and help affordability in this country. To us, we believe that every child deserves to get a meal at school, just like they get books and school buses. So they want to help families in this country today. Congress could fully fund the program and just feed all the kids every day. And think about what a worry that would take away for families, especially people on the edge. They can't afford it. You might, poverty line, or people can afford such and such, but look what everything costs today. It's just getting really overwhelming. And we hear that. And I just think that, it's a time for our country to really look what they can do to help families at this time, the federal government.
Thanks for expanding that answer. I appreciate that, kind of learning even a little bit more on it. We are, as you said, in break, kind of summer break time. Like, whew, how do you take breaks? How do you take your own self-care? And then what do you do for your team? How do you encourage your team to take the break? Because the fight is real. We have to get back into the fray, come back, like you said, at the end of July and even into heavier in August.
So I've been blessed. Maybe I've been doing this too long, but I really, downtime is important, but really know how to compartmentalize. So yes, you can't turn it off. Like, you get up in the morning, even I just recently returned from a trip in Spain, and I'm thinking about, I saw an advertisement for schools and kids in schools in Spain. You can't turn it off, right? But you just have to learn how to compartmentalize it. But taking time off on the weekends, spending time with families and friends, and doing the things that I enjoy. Prayer is very helpful for me, meditation, taking time to focus on myself. And I do encourage my staff to do that. We have a big conference after our conference that you're coming to, and people putting a lot of time, especially the weeks leading up to that conference. In the summertime, we take half Fridays, which I think is very appreciative of the staff. It's like, maybe 5 Fridays, but it really goes a long way to get people to focus on themselves. And then so they come back, and when schools reopen, it all starts again. We get a little bit of a break. Congress is on recess. Schools are kind of just starting opening up. And when those schools are opening up, they don't want to hear from us, the members, right? They want to focusing on getting the schools open. So that's our time for break.
I love that. One of the things I've encouraged, we have a very small team, not like you're leading, but is every October we plan the next year.
Oh,
and we always begin with vacation time. What are the days that we don't want to work?
Yep.
And that becomes the number one priority. And we protect those days. I mean, life happens, but we really focus hard on trying to protect those days. And I learned that, from another executive when I was traveling internationally abroad, and just saying, just really enjoy your time that you do have off, because you need to recover. And I think a lot of executive CEOs don't do that and take that time, because they're always in the churn. Just like you said, I was in Spain, I saw another program, and the brain kind of kicks back in again. So being able to compartmentalize is fantastic. So a couple more questions here for you. One is, if I'll say that one for last. Crystal ball type, kind of like the first question, but a little bit different. 5 years from now, maybe 10 years from now, everything has worked out like you wanted it to. It's going amazing. Congress has fully funded the School Nutrition Association, and you have all the kids are being fed. What is it that you believe that you need to amputate right now in order for that to happen?
I think looking at a lot of what we do, for me and my staff, I think we're all trying to do that. If we could get rid of some of the administrative work that we all have in our jobs, and I truly believe AI is going to deliver that,
mm-hmm.
I think myself and my staff would be able to deliver more education and develop things to support our members more. But we all know that day-to-day stuff that ties us down. It's whether it's approving bills or, timesheets and all those kinds of things. I think, we could do a lot more to help support our members and give them the tools that they need to be better at the jobs they do every day.
That's great. You just brought another thing up for me when you answered that question, because I'm also seeing with AI coming in and what's happening, I think at the very fringe, at the very beginnings, is a lot of the junior roles are being let go. And we are trying to backfill that with artificial intelligence or agents or groups that are in there, which means we're getting very heavy in the middle. So we have this kind of diamond that's beginning to happen. And if the mistakes that I make as a junior person and the relationships that I have are never happening there, what happens to that diamond middle once they begin to either elevate? There's nothing that's really backfilling it.
It's not a question to answer, but it's just consideration. But that's what I was thinking about when you were answering that question, that AI is coming in, because I see it a lot with executives. But the good news is that most people are just piloting right now.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I never want to have to let somebody go because of AI. I think there's just so much opportunity and things we can do that, again, we can use it. Like most nonprofits like us, I probably could use 10 more staff people. We just don't have the money. So there's so many things that we can do. And I just would like, again, to use AI to help enhance the programs and services. And I would hate to see that we'd have to ever let anyone go.
Love that. Love that. All right. Last question is, if every school nutrition professional listening today could hear one insight from you before they went back to work tomorrow morning or the next school year morning, what would you want them to know?
I would want them to know that what they do matters every day. Whether you're a cashier, a dishwasher, or you're the person planning the menu, you all matter. You matter to nourishing kids in the school. And so every day they should give themselves a pat on the back and work hard, and that their work does not go unrecognized, and that come together collectively with their teams to help amplify and let the public and the superintendents and everyone know what they do. And they do an incredible job every day. And, I know my staff and I appreciate what they do every day. And we just want to get the word out and tell everyone what a great career it is also. People are not looking to go into school nutrition programs. It used to be somebody's mother started working part-time when their kids went back, got older, and then they went up the ranks. But we're finding more people are coming into the field of school nutrition because they find it as rewarding, a very rewarding career choice. And I would encourage them as they meet, new registered dietitians or someone who graduated with a hospitality restaurant degree to consider the school nutrition profession as a career choice, because it is very, very rewarding to anyone who's ever worked in it.
We have been talking with Patti Montague, Chief Executive Officer at the School Nutrition Association and School Nutritional Foundation. Thank you so much for being on, and can't wait to see you all. It's gonna be a great time. So I'm
thank
excited.
you, John. We look forward to you coming and hearing your story. It's such a motivational, great story, and I want to personally thank you for your service to our country. Appreciate you and what you're doing now. And I think the work is incredible, what you're doing now and getting the messages out, positive messages, and encouraging others. So thank you.
You're very welcome. We'll stay on for a couple of seconds. We're going to close the show out. That'll take about a minute, but we can talk some shop right after this.
Sounds good.
Hey, Patti, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for your leadership, your service, and just sharing your perspective with us. Now, what stood out to me from our conversation is that leadership is ultimately about stewardship. Stewardship of people, stewardship of mission, stewardship of trust. And for those listening, I hope that you heard what I heard. Transformation doesn't begin when everything changes around us. Transformation begins when we begin to make the decisive move, the decision to move, when we release what no longer serves the mission. If today's conversation added value to you, please follow the show. Share it with a colleague and leave a review. It will help us continue bringing these conversations to leaders who are making a difference in their organizations and communities across our great nation and the world. And if you like more insights on leadership transformation resilience on the StrikePoint decision path or become a lightning leader, join me at johnregister.beehive.com. That's johnregister.beehiiv.com. So until next time, remember, strike now, keep moving forward, because you are the lightning leader. Bye for now.